lot of cars, different variations, and some different assessments, so it should be fun. I got a different backdrop here today.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, well, I mean it's inherently fun. So to start is work on a little breathing. Morning, Brandon. Morning, Chris. Hey guys. So I'm gonna have you actually just seated, a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you. So you can go cross-legged. You can go. Sometimes if you just go seated on a block, that's more comfortable. And as you're doing this, I'm gonna talk you through some things for today. So, comfortable seated position. For the next couple minutes, I just want you to focus on taking nice big inhales and long, slow exhales. Okay, so you're focusing on progressively lengthening the exhale, breathing quietly and easily. And just observe where the air is going in without forcing it too much. Okay, and as we're doing this breathing, I'm going to talk you through some things. So we've discussed, some of you have heard more and some less, opening and closing angle joint pain or discomfort or restriction. We're going to talk about that a little more today. So, for example, I'll give you a couple examples as you continue to breathe. If we think about the shoulder coming up, the opening angle is the part that is stretching. So that would be here. The closing angle is up here. If we meet restriction in our closing angle, we do not want to push into that. Or if we feel a pinch or pain. If it's a little bit of resistance, that's one thing. But if we feel like we're knocking up against something, we do not want to be pushing into that discomfort. Ideally, we feel the stretch here. Same idea with the hip. So if we're doing hip cars and we're pulling up, this is a common position where people feel it. Ideally, we want the stretch occurring in here. You may not feel a big stretch, and that's okay, but we want the restriction to be here. If you feel like this is kind of pinching and it's stopping you from moving, we do not want to push into that. Similarly, with the hips, for example, if we pry out, this is the stretch tissue. This is the opening angle where we want to feel the restriction and the stretch. You're going to feel these muscles working, but if you feel in the joint on this side as we open up, like a pain or discomfort, that's not something we generally want to push through. That will kind of proliferate that pain feeling. So, I just wanted to go through that briefly. I will remind you, today we're going to go through some cars assessments and troubleshooting, and we'll do some more intense cars, so by the end we're going to be working pretty hard. So I'm excited about that. But again, we do not want to be pushing through pain, so just be mindful of that. So now, hopefully you're all still breathing. You all look conscious, so that's good. This is a good sign. And we're going to start with our shoulders. So you can be either kneeling or standing up tall, whatever you are most comfortable with. But I do want you to have a pretty neutral pelvic position. Okay, so think about just getting a little tuck of that pelvis just so we're not extended like so. And we're going to start with our left shoulder. So I'm not going to cue you heavily through the first rep. We're going to do several. The first one, you were just observing what's going on. Nothing specific. It's a real easy rep. So externally rotated. Just move in a big circle. You're not forcing anything. You're not pushing too much through any resistance. This is just like a warm-up. Really valuable to do some reps that there's not a lot of conscious effort. You're not pushing through anything. It's maybe 80% of your maximal range. Then, what I want you to do, go a little slower. Still not high tension, but we're going to go a little bit slower. And I want you to focus on observing your limitations. So, do you get any closing angle pain? Where do you feel a stretch? So I want you to go slow enough that you can pinpoint those areas. Where do you feel a challenge? There we go. Good. Continue that rep nice and slow. As you get through the rep you're currently on, you're going to create a little bit more tension now. Okay? There we go. And I want you to continue to observe. As you create more tension, what changes? Do you feel any difference in opening or closing angle challenges? As you rotate, how does it feel? How does it feel when you turn that arm? What we're going to do after this rep is we're going to isolate one area for you to work on. Okay, so think through, where do you want to work your shoulder? So as we come down now, I'm going to give you an example for me, and this is common for a lot of people, is that in this angle we tend to have some challenge. Okay, so this kind of internal, external transition. So what I'm going to do, because that's a challenge for me, I'm going to hold my arm out there, push against my end point as long as it doesn't hurt, and I'm going to rotate internally and externally. So we can give ourselves more pain-free experience, develop more strength and control. All right, so we can use our cars to assess at what part of that range do we not feel as strong or stable, where might we feel some discomfort. You can relax your shoulder there. There we go. And then we'll go to the right. We're going to come back to the left, but I want to give that one a little rest. So same process here. First rep, really easy. You're not pushing into much resistance. This is a little warm-up. Okay, just a little assessment, but I don't want you creating much tension. This is easy. Low barrier. You can do this all the time. On your next rep, we're going a little slower. Still easy, but go nice and slow. Observe what you're feeling. Where do you feel resistance? Where do you feel maybe pain? We don't want to push into that, but I want you to be aware if that starts to come on. But also, where do you feel anticipation of discomfort or pain? Because that's key too. Where are you maybe anticipating you're going to have discomfort? So now we're creating a little more tension. So squeeze the arm. As you create more tension, how does that sensation change? So we're scanning, we're observing. Okay, now I want you thinking, where do I want to spend more time? Where do I want to give my body more strength and control? There we go. As you come down, we're just going to do one more. Really reinforce the position. The positions at which you want to focus on. Okay, so as we did with the other side, we're going to focus on one specific place. But doing your cars, you can also slow it down in that challenging ranges. So you spend more time there. All right, so same deal. You can use the same position if you'd like, but I really want you to figure out for you in this shoulder, where are you challenged? Okay, so I'm going to go kind of here. And we want to make sure, again, we're not getting closing angle pain, which when we come up, that is here versus here. So we don't want to be pushing into anything painful. And you're just going to do some rotations here. Good. So I'm rotating my shoulder, making sure that biceps is turning. And whatever you're comfortable with here, in terms of tension, you can use. So you can squeeze really hard, create a lot of tension if it's okay. Sometimes we just need to go easy depending on the position. And then we can relax. So now what we're going to do is go back to the left shoulder. Okay, we're going to do one really slow shoulder car with extra tension, and whatever spot you focused on, you're going to go slow motion through that spot. Okay, so your tempo might look a little different than mine, but I want you to squeeze your fist, externally rotate, come up and across. Go at about this pace and slow it down extra through that spot. If you want to go back and forth through it, it's like you're mowing your lawn and you want to get every blade of grass. You can go back and forth. Then continue the car. On the way back, same deal. Slow it down. You can go back and forth a couple times. We want to reinforce that challenging spot without pushing through pain. And you can continue and come down. Okay, shake it out. Wonderful. And then we'll do the same thing on the other shoulder. So think about the spot you want to work on. Okay, if you have multiple, you can pick one. Come up, squeeze. You're going nice and slow. As you get to your spot, slow it down extra. You can go back and forth a couple times and continue on with your rep. Nice. Nice and slow. Keep that tension. And of course, I know what you're all thinking. You can do this with weights as well. But I would be very cautious with it if you don't already feel good in all positions. Relax for a moment there. So another thing that you can do that I want to go through is isometrics. Now, I'm going to use this example because this is usually the clearest one. If we have closing angle pain, which is not the stretch tissue, but in the other contracting tissue, we have a limitation, a pinch, etc. One thing you can do is an isometric the other direction, a pale contraction, and then see if you can clear some of that. So what I'm going to do is I get a little bit of discomfort here. If you don't have closing angle pain, that's okay. You can just use, if there's a position where you want more range of motion, you can do the same thing. We're like, I wish I could get a little higher. So what I'm going to do is I can use my wall, you can use the floor, you can use your other arm. I'm going to get to my position, back off a little bit so I don't have pain or discomfort. Then I'm going to push into my arm and resist for about 10 seconds. And then I'm going to relax, see if I can go a little higher. I'm going to play around with that endpoint. It may not be immediate, so it might not be right now you can get there. But over time, doing those pales contractions in different ranges can help clear some of that closing angle pain. Sometimes you may need to get some release work done, or regular cars can help. But if there's any point, and you can try again, do one more, any position you want. So I could do it here, for example. If I want to get a little further, I can press into the wall about 10 or 15 seconds without pain. And then I could see if I can go a little further. Whoops. Ooh, don't knock anything over. Okay, and you can play around with that. So as you go through your cars, I want you thinking, where do I have restrictions? Where do I wish I could get to? And if you do experience pain, you're not going to push through that. But those isometrics, just on the edge of your end range or the edge of your discomfort, can be really powerful. So let's switch to the other shoulder. Same thing. I want you figuring out, okay, where do I either have closing angle discomfort or pain, or where do I have restriction? So here, for me, both shoulders, my flexion isn't awesome. So you can use your other hand. You can also use a wall, or if you're lying down, you can use the floor. That might make it a little easier. And you're just going to slowly ramp that up, 10 or 15 seconds. And then, can you go a little further? Good. And if it is a position where you encounter a little bit of pain and you notice that, then maybe for the first few days you try this, you don't push into it afterwards. You just trust that progress is being made. And you can try one more in any position you want. Okay. You could put your arm up on a cabinet or something and drive down for 10 seconds and then up. And Chris has a dowel rod, that's great. So using a broomstick, a dowel rod, something, can it really help you achieve different ranges and do isometrics? And that can be really helpful. So now what we're going to do is move on to the hips. All right, so hopefully the shoulders are feeling pretty good. And at the very least, you've got some ideas of what you want to work on and how you can continue to assess and troubleshoot. Now, we're going to go left hip. So you can grab onto the wall. You can hold something just to stay nice and stable. And we're going to do the same whole series like we did with the shoulder. One easy rep first. So we're coming up and across. Pry out. You're not pushing through any or much resistance at this point, ideally. Then you're going back. I don't want you thinking too much. Partially, we're just warming it up. Also, if you're not pushing too much, not thinking too much, now we're going a little slower. Now I want you to push in that range. But the big blocks are going to come out. So if I'm going really easy rep and I notice something, that's probably my lowest hanging fruit. If I notice discomfort or a restriction. If I'm going for a really hard, high intensity rep, I'm going to notice restriction everywhere because that's the whole point. I'm pushing. So I want you observing, we're going to go for another one, I want you observing what you're feeling. Where are you feeling restriction? Where is it feeling challenging or unstable? Where do you want to compensate? Work on staying as tall as you can. Be mindful of your torso. Pull up, try and finish with a lot of hip flexion and then external rotation. Okay. And then you can do one more if you need another moment to scan and figure out what's going on. So same deal, you can create a little more tension. So with each rep, you're gathering a little bit more information. There we go. A little more information with each rep. And you can pinpoint where you want to focus. Okay, so now we're going to pick a spot. Same idea, of course, instead of turning the biceps, we're turning the thigh. So another common one here is knee up and out, like this. But I want to make sure that you're not in pain. So you're staying in a pain-free range, and then you can try some hip rotations. You may not get a lot. Think about keeping that pelvis solid. There we go. This takes a little more energy, and then you can relax there. Okay, cool. Then we get to do the other side. So take a moment, shake it out. Okay, and again, ankle weights are encouraged as long as you don't have pain. So same deal here. Really easy rep. Okay, really easy. Keep it low intensity. You're not pushing all the way. And that's just like a really basic scan. Okay, the lowest hanging fruit is going to pop up. There we go. So then we're going to define it a little more. We're going to dig a little deeper, go a little slower, a little bit more focused rep, pushing into your end range. Big circle with that knee. And observe, where am I feeling tension? Where am I feeling either discomfort or instability? Good, tune in. Next rep, create a little more tension. This is moderate tension here. We're pushing through that end range into that external rotation. Bring the knee up, pry it out. Internally rotate. This is often a tough one. Pay attention to what your torso wants to do. And then as we go back, same deal. You may find you have very different sensations going forward and going back, even though it's essentially the same range of motion. Okay, if you want to do one more, you can do so. Again, I realize these take a little more energy than the shoulders. Scan. What are you feeling? So it's all good information. What do you feel differently when you create more tension? What do you feel differently with each successive rep? Maybe things feel better. Maybe they feel a little worse. Okay, so now you're going to focus on one spot that for your hip feels like it needs a little extra work. Okay, so wherever you want to go, I'll give you a different example here, where I'll go back like this into extension, and I'm going to try to rotate my hip. Get a little different angle. So I'm still trying to stay tall. There we go. So you can pick any spot. If you want to be really thorough, you could just give every single angle an opportunity and do this like 10 different spots. Then you can relax, and that will smoke your hips. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the left hip. We're going to do a full hip car, really slow, and you're going to spend a little bit of extra time at your challenging spot, even going back and forth a couple times if that feels doable for you. So, left leg coming up and across, pull up. At your spot, that's where you're going to slow down. So you're going to slow down even extra. Okay, again, it's like a lawnmower. Get every blade of grass, go back and forth a couple times. Then you're bringing it down, continuing. On the way back, when you hit that spot, good. Cut that lawn. Nice. And down. And your spot may be different than mine. Take a moment. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, when I'm doing like hip rotation, sometimes when my hip is like extra tight, like I just lift it, it wants to like move around. Like how locked should the hip be that's like solid on the ground? Like if I'm moving my left hip, like what should my right leg be doing? Like if it wants to overcompensate?
That's a great question. So yeah, your standing hip, we ideally want that to be pretty locked out. It's going to move some. So as you move through it, if you find that if I let this hip move like 5 degrees, 10 degrees, and I get way more range, that's okay. You can let that happen. If you notice it moving a ton, that's something we want to be mindful of. So there's naturally going to be some weight shift as well if you're standing on one leg. So I wouldn't worry about perfection at this point. Over time, you can learn to really lock that in. But especially if on days where your hip's really tight, you're probably going to get more out of your hip cars by allowing a little bit of compensation. So great question. So now we get to do our other leg. Same deal, nice and slow, and you're going to focus on that spot, that challenging spot. So as you go, slow down extra during your specific trouble spot, and then you can go back and forth over it. Okay, it's our lawnmower. Pick up every blade of grass, and then you're going back. So we want to give our body more experience in those challenging areas. On the way back, you're hitting it again. There's a tendency, even if it's subconscious, to as we do our cars and as we do our other movements, and then you can finish the rep, to just kind of sneak through those spots that are more challenging. Not spend as much time on them or as much energy on them. You can make huge benefits by consciously focusing on the spots your body would rather avoid. Alrighty, so now we get to work on a similar idea with the ankles. This will be a little less energy required. So we're going to go seated on the floor. There we go. All right. So for our ankles, you can go seated, you can go on a block, whatever is comfortable for you. We're going to start off, same idea. Now, what you can do is either hold your knee up, or you can hook your left elbow under, find your right elbow with your left hand, cross over like this. or like so. So that just keeps your leg really stable and solid. From here, I want you to do a couple reps, a couple big circles with your left ankle. Really easy. Really easy. Observe what you feel. And then we'll do a couple reps the other direction. So again, I like the super easy scan initially because it will pick out the lowest hanging fruit, the biggest things you want to address. If you feel a restriction there, that's something you want to dive into. So now, let's do 2 reps each direction, just a little more focused. I want you pushing that end range a little more. Doesn't have to be super intense here, but I want you to feel those lower leg muscles working. And you're observing, maybe you already had an idea of the angle you want to focus on. You're observing, how does that feel? Where am I feeling a limitation? There we go. If I could pinpoint one spot on that circle, where would it be? Good. Now we're just going to do 2 more reps at a little higher intensity. Okay, so 2 more slow reps, pushing that end range a little more. And as we create more tension here, that's where you're going to start to get a better sense of where do I have less strength. So we might have an idea of where do I not have as much range, but now where am I strong and where am I not as strong? So we're assessing this on a number of levels here. Okay, now you can relax for a moment if you'd like to. We're going to pick one spot, okay? And if our ankle goes in a big circle like this, maybe we take like a quarter of that circle and we go back and forth. I want you to go for about 30 seconds here. So it's going to get burning. So for example, I find going out like this and down, I'm challenged. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go right here. And I'm just scraping against this position without pain. Okay, that's the key. So we're doing partial cars. There we go. Maybe about, 60 to 90 degrees in total. So you're spending a lot of time and energy on the spot that needs it most. And you can relax there. All right, pretty fun. Now I joke a lot about like ankle weights and holding weights and things like that. Generally for the ankles, for most people, using a weight like on your foot or a band is a little safer than other parts of the body because the ankle it's close. It's not like you're holding something far out away from your body, and our ankles use and are subject to large forces on a daily basis. So you can use weights with this. Let's switch it up. Okay, if you want to hook under, you can do so with your right arm. Cross over and grab the knee. Really easy to start. So we'll do a couple reps. Nice and easy. And I do have some fun, more challenging stuff for later on. Just FYI. Then we'll go the other direction. Nice and easy. Just observing, is there anything that pops up initially? Now, we'll do 2 reps each way, a little bit more tension, and just pushing that end range a bit more. Push that end range a little more. See what else you uncover. There's so much value to really, really tuning in. Let's go the other direction. Really focusing. It can be pretty meditative. Where, if I had to draw out, let's say you were to color code your circle and draw out like, red or pink, depending on how strong you feel, or white. What would that look like? Okay, so we're doing last couple each way here, a little higher tension. Okay, so now we're pushing into the strength. Now we're pushing into the strength a little bit. What do we notice? What are we feeling? Where's the spot we really want to focus on? Ankles are another one. They don't take quite as much energy, but it's really easy to not go full range with them. It's beneficial to just, roll your ankle regularly, but we're going to spend most of our time in those spots that already feel good. So now pick a spot, wherever it might be. For this one, I'm going to go here, and we're spending about 30 seconds just scraping out, as long as that feels okay. You're going to feel some burning. It's like you got an ice cream scoop and you're trying to get the edge of the carton, all that ice cream, but it's kind of hard, so we got to work at it. And we're hungry. There we go. And you can relax there. So you might feel some burning. That's totally normal. Very normal. Your cars don't all have to be like that. So the way we start, nice and easy, I love that. You can do that all day, and the barrier is low. It's really beneficial. But make sure that on a weekly basis you're doing this at some level with some degree of focus. Okay, now we get to work the spine. So we are going to work the spine. We're not going to get into the ankle isometrics today, but you can do the same idea. If you have a certain position that doesn't feel good or you want more range, I could pull it a certain direction, pales contraction, press away, and then see if I can get more range, just like we did with the shoulders. So for the spine, we are going to get in our quadruped position. We're going to do our cat-cows. There we are. And I'm going to have you starting with your pelvis. You're just really nice and easy going up into flexion, rounding your spine. Tuck your pelvis, tuck your chin. And nice and easy drooping down. So as this happens, again, observe any low-hanging fruit. Tuck, round up nice and easy again. Good. What are you feeling? Untuck, droop down. Nice. Now, a little bit more tension. We're going to try to really move segmentally. So tuck your pelvis, slowly work through your low back, mid back, upper back. Tuck your chin. Observe where it feels a little less smooth. Untuck your pelvis, droop through your low back, mid back, upper back. Make sure we're pushing our shoulder blades away. Now a little slower, okay? So go ahead, tuck, nice and slow, slowly round. Observe the spots that your brain just doesn't quite know what to do with. Where does it feel like you just don't have control? Untuck, slowly work through. Good. We're going to go one more time, slow and a little more tension. So you can, with your hands, you can pull the heel of your palms towards your knees. That'll create a little more tension. Tuck your pelvis. Slowly round as much as you can. Tune in. Where are you feeling it? And where are you not feeling it? Untuck. As you start untucking, you can push your hands away. That might help you get a little bit more extension. Stay tuned in. There we are. Okay. So hopefully you have kind of an idea like what feels tight, what doesn't feel awesome, what feels great. What I'm going to have us do here today is you're just going to pick a spot on your back and try to move that a little bit more. Now, if it's on your low back, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my thumb just on a spot here. I'm going to kneel and I'm going to try to round and extend. If it's a spot higher up, and I'm going to walk you through both, you can go on the front side if you can't reach. So I could go here, try to go back and forward. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and if you want to follow along with me, if you can, but if there's a specific spot you feel, I want you to work for that. So I'm going to go like a couple vertebrae above my pelvis, put my thumb right in there, okay, and you can be tall kneeling, you can be seated for this, and I'm going to try to push into my thumb and try to extend. So I feel my vertebrae or I feel my back, and I'm trying to push it backwards, round it into my thumb, and then I'm trying to swallow up my thumb with my vertebrae. So you're going to feel some extension, feel some flexion. Feel the tissues under your thumb or under your finger pull in and then stretch. And you might not be able to feel much, and that's okay. But I want you to feel the subtlety, feel the muscles you're using. You might have to use your abs a little bit. And as we go, can you use less and less of your body to make that change? So for example, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of tucking my pelvis a bit. I'm using that. What I want to do is now keep this straight. How much can I get a stretch at my finger without moving the rest of my body? And this is pretty subtle. And I didn't start with this. I wanted us to get used to tuning in for, a half hour before we go into the more subtle stuff. If you would like, what you can do is you could work up, and you could do this at each vertebrae or every couple inches, because what you'll find is there's going to be places where it's just harder to move. So certain vertebrae just naturally move more than others. That's a thing. And some learn to move less than others because of how we live. All right, so you're just spending a little bit of time. If you know there's a specific area in your spine that generally doesn't move well or gives you discomfort, spend time there. If you could spend just like a minute a day doing this, I know it's not exciting, it could make a big difference. Now what we're going to do is work, if you didn't, we're going to work on the upper side. If you already did that, then you can just pick another spot. So what you can do is go on your sternum somewhere, and you can do the same thing and feel like you're pushing your finger through your chest, rounding, extending, and you'll feel a little movement. You can feel a little movement probably at your sternum. It might be a little bit hard to feel, but at the very least, this just gives you some feedback. Pushing into your finger, pulling away. Another option, so you can continue doing this, but I wanted to show you another option. If you have a towel or you have a pencil, you could put it under your back, or you could bring your hand back depending on your internal rotation, and you could try to push into it and extend away from it. So that is another option, but this one is just a little bit more accessible. You can do it more. You can feel it. If you have great shoulder mobility, you could work the other side. So just get one or two more there. Nice. Okay, now what we're going to do is our full spinal cars. So you please tune in. We're not going to use this as much as an assessment. We're just now using our whole spine as much as we can. So we're going to go either kneeling or seated, whatever's comfortable for your knees. You can go tall kneeling if you'd like. You could even pop a little block under here. That might feel good. So I'll show you real quick. We're going to round the spine, rotate, tip, extend, tip, rotate, round. So some really nice spinal work. We're going to add flexion, extension, and the rotation. So you're going to start here. If you feel like you want to and you have the mobility, you can do a nice self-hug too. You go all the way across. You get a big stretch. Round your spine, just like we're doing the cat-cow. We're going to slowly rotate our chest and head to the right. Tip your right shoulder towards your right hip. Start extending through your spine. Good. Then you're going to start tipping the left shoulder towards the left hip. And as you do that, you're starting to round and rotate to the left. Continue rounding down to the center. And then come up. All right, we're going to go the other way. So round your spine as best you can. Get in touch with that spot you were just working on. Rotate to the left. Tip the left shoulder towards the left hip. Extend back. Tip the right shoulder towards the right hip. Rotate to the right as you round down and then back to the center. Wonderful. Whew. That's the good stuff. Okay. Now, we're going to get into a little bit more fun. So, we're going to do some opposite shoulder cars, opposing shoulder cars. I've really been enjoying this. So I just assume all of you will too. So to show you real quick, what we're going to do is one arm goes up as the other arm goes down. Like this, then they meet here, then they go back. We'll do about 400 of those and then you'll be good to go. And so it takes a little coordination. It's also why I didn't want to start with this. But what we're going to do is the left arm goes up as the right goes back. Elbows straight. Left is externally rotated. Right is internally rotated. You're going to reach up and back as much as you can. Internally rotate the left as you externally rotate the right. They're going to come up. Reach overhead with the right. Reach back and up with the left. Now they're opposite, now coming together in front and spreading apart. Reach up with the right, back with the left. Rotate. Rotate the shoulders as they come up. Right goes back, left goes up. Good. And they're coming across and down. And then we're going back. Tuck your pelvis. Stay solid, reach back, rotate, rotate, rotate as you're pushing through the resistance. Up with the right, down with the left. And they're coming towards your midline and meeting in the middle. One more here, go back. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Reach. Good. And they're coming forward, meeting in the middle. All right. You can relax there. Takes a little bit of coordination. I really like that. I feel like I can actually get more range of motion doing that. And then now we're going to work on some ankle cars. So we're going some fun versions of cars now. Now for this one, I want to make sure that you are not in a painful range. So if you need something for stability, please grab it. We are going to do closed kinetic chain ankle cars from a squat. So what that means is we're going to squat down. We're going to use our ankle muscles to pull ourselves in a circle. If you need to come like this or go up higher, that's fine. If you want to be partially supported, seated on a couch or a chair, that's fine. Okay? But what we're going to do is go wherever you are comfortable. You're going to use your shins and top of your feet to pull you forward. Use your ankle muscles to try to pull you to the side. And then back. And then to the right. And then forward. So you're pulling your body in a circle. And as you go back, really what it's going to be feeling like is your ankle muscles are kind of decelerating, controlling your fall back. There we go. So you're trying to use those lower legs to pull you in a big circle. Go ahead and switch directions. Good. You can come up higher if you need to. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. Pull yourself in the greatest circle you can. There we are. Nice. I know, this is fun. I assume you're all saying that and you're just muted. That's what's going on. And go ahead and relax. Ease out of that. Whew. So that can be pretty challenging. That was hard. It was hard. That's a challenging one. Again, I wouldn't start with that, but it's a really good way to work those ankles. Again, you can support yourself as much as you need to or come up out of it. And if your connection to your ankles has been a challenge, it's going to be extra challenging. But it's a cool method to measure progress too. So now we're going to go into some spinal curl-ups. The fun keeps coming. So spinal flexion. What you can do for this one is, if you have somewhere to press your feet, or a dumbbell or something to hook your feet on, or a couch, that can really help, because I'm going to have us peel up like so, and then slowly come back down. Okay, so you're going to try to go, imagine you're a really thin piece of tape, and we're just trying to peel off the floor really, really slow, and then come down really slow. So lead with your hands. Tuck your chin as you're following your hands, one vertebrae at a time. We're rounding, rounding, rounding. As you come up, maintain your rounding. The floor is magic, so you can't unround until you touch the floor. So one vertebrae touches down, it extends, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And you're slowly flattening and spreading out. Okay, so we're putting that piece of tape down. There we go, with no ridges in it. Now we're peeling up again. So tuck your chin. Peeling the tape, little by little by little. As you meet a little resistance, you're going to have a tough part. Try to go slow. Tune into your body. Round that spine. Maintain your rounding here. Yeah. All right, slowly come down. Try to find that low back if you can. It's going to be tough. Keep it rounded, keep it rounded, keep it rounded. As it touches, then it gets to spread out. We're spreading out that tape. The next one comes down. Then the next one. Then the next one. Whew. Take a moment. We're going to go for one more if you're up for it. If you're not up for it, we'll go for two more. Okay? Last one. Tuck your chin. Little by little, we're peeling. Peeling, peeling, peeling. Peel that tape. Don't tear it. Beautiful. Maintain your rounding here. Maintain your rounding. All this front stuff is working. Find that low back if you can. Little by little, we're spreading out, laying down that tape nice and evenly, controlled. No sense of urgency. This is just what we do. Lay down, spread out. You can take a couple breaths. Your breathing is naturally going to be a little shallower there, or a lot shallower. That's a really fun one. If you have bands, you can do a number of things with that. You could grab on, and it can assist you both ways. You could also have a friend wrap a band around you and pull you down to make it a little more challenging. So, I know that's where your minds all naturally went anyway. So, next up, we're going to do some hip cars, some partial hip cars. So we're going to go back to standing. If you have a ball, this would be great. Brandon, you mentioned this. A ball behind your knee can really help here. So, there we go. We're going to be standing up, and I will show you. So I don't have a... This isn't my normal spot. I have a rock, though. So that's a little dangerous. But yeah, I wouldn't use a rock. But what we're going to do is a partial hip car. So we're going to start down here. If you have a ball, you can squeeze it behind your knee. Get solid. We're going to come up, pry out, and then back down. So we're doing this first half of the hip car. Woo! Squeezing the knee. Good. Down, really getting this adduction and external rotation working. We'll go a little bit longer here. My rock is slipping. Oh my goodness. Whew. And relax. I almost lost it. This is from Idaho. Relax. Take a few breaths. So that can take a lot of energy. So we're just working on that end point. Okay. So you can use partial cars for a lot of different in a lot of different ways. We kind of worked before really specifically. Then you can do, one half. So now, other leg. We'll squeeze your ball, or if you have a rock like me, that works. Coming across. Pry up. Yeah. Down. Get that adduction, external rotation. Woo! So another cool thing, if you are squeezing something behind your knee, you're going to notice different points that are more challenging. Where do you lose that squeeze? Where do you lose that squeeze? Almost there. There we are. Whew. And relax. So I'm basically just having you go until I can't hold the rock anymore. All right, that's how we're programming this. Okay, shake it out a little bit. We're going to do the other half, but not yet. We're going to go back to the shoulders. So now, for the real fun, yeah, non-Idaho rocks do work, David, so you're okay. You're okay. Now, most of you have done swimmer hovers before. We are going to do infinity hovers, which is the swimmer hover, but alternating arms. So we practiced that with the cars. Now we're going to do it this way. So I'll show you real quick what it's going to look like. If your mobility is better, it'll look different. Boom. Here. Like so. Okay, now I want you to imagine that you've been put on timeout, right? You're facing the wall. You're trying to hover your arms as far back away from the wall as possible without letting this happen. Okay, so we're solid here. So, right arm up, left arm back. I'll show you this for the first one. Lift off if you can. Punch those arms out. Rotate. Right arm internally, left arm externally. Reach up as high as you can. Pull back. Rest for a moment. Pinch the elbows back. Lift off. Extend. Rotate. Right external, left internal. Keep rotating, pulling back behind you as you reach up. Bend the elbows, pull behind you. Relax for a moment. Excellent. 2 more. Lift, extend, rotate as you reach back behind you. Back behind you. If you're facing the wall, you're pulling as far away from the wall as you can. Set them down. Pelvis tucked, abs are on. Lift, extend, rotate, rotate, rotate. Reach back, reach back, reach back. Slowly bend those elbows. Pull down and relax. Whew. Okay. Very nice. Now, you can also do that one lying down. And you can add weights. So gravity, weight, you can really amplify that. Next, we're going to do the squats again. And this time, calf raises from there. So I made a post on this that I really enjoyed. So again, use anything you need. I mean, you're coming down into a moderately uncomfortable squat. So not painful, but something where you're working. Okay, if you need anything, you can grab it. From here, we're going to press up, pull down. Okay, so I'm pressing up onto the balls of my feet, pulling back down. If the balance is really, really tough here, I'd recommend holding on to something. You'll get more out of that. For me, if you can do a deep squat fairly well, when you come down, I want you using those shins and top of the feet to pull yourself down into a deeper squat. There we go. Yes. All right, now we're having fun. Finally. We'll do a couple more here, just going to your level of ability. You know, if this is just no problem, you can come up, you can hold it, you can do like little jumps, stuff like that. Go ahead and come down, relax. Whew. So that can take a good bit of energy, which is really nice. Take a little breather. We're gonna finish up. So make sure we get you your second half of the hip cars, all right? So come on up. His legs are getting some good fun here at the end. If you've got your ball or rock, you can squeeze like so. We're gonna do the back half. So we're here, drive back, pry up, back down. Find the glute. You've got that hammy already, I'm sure. Pry up and back down. Now what I want you to think about is try to keep that ankle high as long as you can as that knee comes up. Then it's going to drop a little bit. Good. Whew. Excellent. Last one. Relax, take a little breather. This is our home stretch. All right, and depending on the weight of the rock or the ball, how much tension you're creating through the rest of your body, you can make these easier or harder for yourself. So, here we go. Squeeze, drive back, pry up. Trying your best to not let your torso move. Good. Back, pry up. Excellent. Keep that squeeze. Observe where you lose the squeeze and where you can amplify the squeeze. Last one. Whew. Made it. Excellent work. All right. So, what I will say for today, if you have a few minutes to work on some nice calm breathing to come down from today, please do so. And does anybody have any questions or thoughts?
I liked the spine one.
Ooh, I'm glad.
When we were on the ground.
Yes. That's a really good way to add some resistance to the flexion.
Yeah.
And play around with, if you don't have your feet set on something, you probably won't get the same range of motion, but it is quite a challenge. So it's just a different challenge. If your feet are locked in, you're going to probably be able to get more segmentation. So. Cool.
Thank you, Brian. I gotta go, but thank you.
Thanks for joining, Bethany. Walter, thanks for joining. Good to see you all.
Hey Brian, I really like that one too. I usually can't do that mind-muscle connection with my lower spine, so that's really been helping. That really helped.
Dude, I'm really glad. It's a tough one because it takes some patience. And like I said, I kind of like to work into that. The spine tends to be really tough. So if you can hone in the tuning in with your other joints first, sometimes it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I'm glad, man. Yeah. Cool.
Hey Brian, who makes your pole there?
Oh, yeah.
Exercise pole?
This is stick mobility.
Stick mobility. Okay.
Stick mobility. So, whoops. Yeah. So they make them pretty well. It's they're not super cheap, but they're not too bad. And it's it's basically like PVC with rubber, and they do give a bit. So I really do like them.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, guys.